Minutes before the wedding, my fiancé revealed a devastating secret. "I cheated on you with your friend," he confessed without remorse. On the happiest day of my life, my heart was shattered, but my revenge was unforgettable. Before the story begins, if you like our channel, subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. And now, we invite you to enjoy a story with an unexpected ending. The sun rose, lighting up the day I had waited for my whole life, my wedding day. The day I would become the wife of the man I loved, surrounded by friends and family celebrating our union. I woke up with a light heart, feeling that exciting nervousness of someone about to take a big step. My wedding dress hung on the bedroom door, a true dream in lace and satin, chosen with care months before. Next to it, my shoes sparkled in the light coming through the window. My mom entered the room with teary eyes and gave me a tight hug. "My girl is getting married. I can hardly believe it." I smiled, holding back tears. I wanted to savor every second of that day, to keep every detail in my memory. Soon after, my bridesmaids arrived, and among them was Emily, my best friend since college. She looked at me with a wide smile and joked, "Last chance to run away." We laughed together, and I joked back, "Not even if I wanted to. You know how long I've waited for this." But something about her seemed off. A different look, as if there was something she wanted to say, but couldn't. For a second, I thought I saw a glimmer of nervousness in her eyes, but I dismissed it. I thought it was just emotion from the big day. The morning passed with laughter, champagne, and makeup. I felt beautiful, radiant. Nothing could ruin this moment. Then, suddenly, one of the bridesmaids rushed into the room. "Logan wants to talk to you. Now." My heart raced. He was never the nervous or anxious type, so why call me minutes before the ceremony? Was it something romantic? Maybe he wanted to say something sweet before we exchanged vows? With a smile on my face and my heart racing, I walked to the room where he was waiting for me. But when I looked at Logan, I noticed something strange. He didn't look emotional, passionate, or nervous. On the contrary, his expression was cold, calculating. I didn't know it yet, but in a few seconds my life would be turned upside down. As I entered the room where Logan was waiting for me, I felt a chill run down my spine. He was standing there, hands in his pockets, staring at the floor as if he was trying to organize his thoughts. His impeccable suit and always confident posture didn't match the tension in the air. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to smile. "Are you nervous?" He looked up and met my gaze. But there was no love in his eyes, no affection, not that sweet anticipation I expected to see in the man who was about to marry me. What I saw there was coldness. "We need to talk." My stomach twisted, not because of what he said, but because of his tone, serious, harsh, as if he was about to give me bad news. "Logan, what's happening?" He sighed and ran a hand through his hair, briefly looking away before dropping the bomb. "I cheated on you, Harper." The air was sucked out of my lungs. "What?" "I cheated on you," he repeated as if he were telling me something simple with no remorse in his voice. My heart raced, my mind struggling to process what he had just said. I felt a knot form in my throat, but I still couldn't believe it. Is this some kind of joke? He finally looked me in the eyes. "I'm with Emily." The ground seemed to disappear beneath my feet. Emily, my best friend, my confidant, the person who helped me plan every detail of the wedding, the woman who had been by my side since college. I felt my body freeze as if my blood had stopped circulating. My vision blurred and everything around me felt distant. "You're joking." My voice came out weak, almost a whisper. He stepped forward without looking away. "I'm not, and I thought it would be fair for you to know before walking down the aisle." I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to ask why. But something inside me refused to beg for answers. All I could do was take a deep breath and ask, "Since when?" Logan didn't hesitate. A year. A year. I swallowed hard. So, all this time, while you were telling me you loved me, while we were planning our future together, you were sleeping with her? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. A year. That meant that while she helped me pick out the dress, the invitations, the flower arrangements, she had already been with him. Were you laughing at me all this time? My voice cracked. He sighed and shrugged. I didn't want you to find out this way, but it wouldn't make sense to marry you while hiding this from you. What terrified me the most wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the lack of regret, the coldness, the complete absence of guilt. He didn't seem like a man who had just shattered the woman he was supposed to marry. He seemed like someone getting rid of an inconvenience. It was right then, in that moment, that something inside me broke. The pain was unbearable, but something stronger began to rise within me. Something that burned deep in my chest. I wouldn't be the humiliated woman. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of watching me crumble. I took a deep breath and wiped away a solitary tear that had slipped down my face. If Logan and Emily thought I would just accept this and walk away defeated, they were about to get a big surprise. I walked out of that room feeling like my body was on autopilot. My heart was shattered. My mind was spinning uncontrollably. But on the outside, I kept my composure. I passed the bridesmaids, my mom, the flowers, and the flawless decorations as if I were seeing everything through foggy glass. People smiled, excited for the wedding, while I carried a crushing secret in my chest. Logan's voice still echoed in my head. I cheated on you. I'm with Emily. Each word was like a knife. I climbed the stairs to the room where I had gotten ready and locked the door behind me. I collapsed into the chair in front of the mirror and stared at my reflection. My face was flawless, my makeup perfect. But in my eyes, there was a pain I had never felt before. I thought about running away. I thought about tearing off that dress, grabbing my things, and disappearing before anyone noticed. But why should I be the one to run? I was the victim. I was the one deceived. I was the one who had spent a year planning a wedding with a man who, deep down, already belonged to someone else. I swallowed hard, taking a deep breath. I had two options. Cancel everything, leave, and cry alone over the betrayal, or turn my own wedding into an unforgettable spectacle. My heart was racing, and my mind was boiling with thoughts. I could get my revenge. I could make Logan and Emily feel, at least for a second, what I was feeling now. That's when I heard a knock on the door. Harper? It was my mom's voice. Are you okay, honey? The wedding starts in 15 minutes. I looked at the clock. 15 minutes. 15 minutes to become the most humiliated woman at the party, or the one who would get back at them in an epic way. I took a deep breath, wiped away a lone tear, and stood up. I already knew exactly what I had to do. I left the room with my head held high and my heart pounding. Inside, I was still shattered, but now there was something more within me, a burning fire of revenge. If Logan and Emily thought I would shrink away and disappear in silence, they were very wrong. In the hallway, the bridesmaids smiled when they saw me. You look stunning, one of them said, lightly touching the sleeve of my dress. Emily was there right beside them, holding my bouquet with a fake smile on her lips. She was scanning me from head to toe, as if trying to figure out if I knew anything. I locked eyes with her and saw a flicker of nervousness. Are you ready? She asked, her voice almost a whisper. The poison was there, disguised as concern. She wanted to confirm whether I was still the naive bride who had no idea about the betrayal. I took the bouquet from her hand and held her gaze. I've never been more ready. She blinked a few times, confused. The music started to play. The guests stood up. The aisle was decorated like a real fairy tale. White rose petals scattered across the floor, candles gently lighting the space. All eyes were on me. I walked toward the altar, feeling every step as a declaration of war. And there he was, Logan at the end of the aisle, standing and waiting for me, with that calm, confident expression, as if nothing had happened, as if he hadn't just destroyed my life 15 minutes ago. But he still didn't know I was about to destroy his. My steps were slow, calculated. The guests smiled, emotional. My mom wiped a few tears away. I stopped just a few feet from the altar. I felt everyone watching me, waiting for the moment the priest would begin the ceremony. But instead of taking another step, I took a deep breath and turned to the guests. I grabbed the microphone from the event coordinator's hands and smiled. Before we begin, I want to share something very important with all of you. I heard some curious murmurs. Logan frowned, and Emily, who was beside the bridesmaids, looked visibly tense. As everyone knows, marriage is a commitment based on trust, loyalty, and respect. I paused dramatically. And that's exactly why there won't be a wedding today. The room went completely silent. Logan took a step forward, confused. "Harper, what are you—" I raised my hand, interrupting him. "Logan, why don't you tell everyone here what you just told me backstage?" His eyes widened. He looked around, feeling the weight of dozens of gazes on him. Emily turned pale as a ghost. "What's going on?" my mom asked, frantic. I gripped the microphone firmly and continued, my voice now steady and clear. "I'm going to tell you. Minutes before the ceremony, my dear fiancé confessed to me that he cheated on me. And it wasn't with just anyone. It was with my best friend." A shock swept over the crowd. Some guests choked, others murmured, stunned. "That's a lie," Emily shouted, but her voice trembled. "Oh, really?" I crossed my arms and looked at Logan. So maybe Logan can deny it? He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His face turned pale and sweat began to bead on his forehead. I smiled. That's what I thought. Chaos erupted. My parents were in shock. The bridesmaids whispered among themselves, and Emily's horrified expression was the cherry on top. But I wasn't finished. And to make things even better, I already knew. Logan's eyes widened. Emily looked like she was about to faint. Yes, I found out a few weeks ago. I lied, just to savor the moment. And instead of confronting them immediately, I decided to wait until today. Because what better moment to expose two traitors than on the very day they expected to deceive me until the end? The murmurs grew louder. Some people were already filming the scene with their phones. Logan tried to grab my arm, but I pulled away. "Harper, can we talk about this?" "Talk? You want to talk now? After spending a year cheating on me?" "Oh, Logan. The only thing you and Emily can do now is find the quickest way out of here." Emily, who had been still, suddenly turned to him, furious. "I told you to tell her sooner," she hissed. The masks had fallen. They were now betraying each other. I looked around and saw some people holding back laughter. Others looked at me with admiration. I grabbed the microphone again and took a deep breath. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to enjoy the party that's already paid for. For anyone who wants to stay, the food and drinks are on the day's traders. I dropped the bouquet on the floor and walked away, leaving Logan and Emily there. Amidst the chaos I had just created, would I leave there with a husband? No, but I would leave with my dignity intact, and with a revenge that no one would ever forget. I walked away from the altar with the feeling that, for the first time that day, I could truly breathe. It was as if a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. While the murmurs and shocked reactions still echoed throughout the room, I did something I hadn't expected. I smiled. Not a bitter or forced smile, but a genuine one. I was no longer the betrayed woman whose big day had been ruined. I was the woman who turned the tables. Logan and Emily were there, frozen in the midst of judgmental stares. Logan tried to keep his composure, but his red face and trembling hands betrayed his nervousness. Emily, on the other hand, had already started to discreetly step away, like a rat trying to escape before the situation worsened. That's when my mom came running toward me. "Harper! My God, daughter, why didn't you tell me anything before?" In her eyes, there was a mix of shock and pride. "Because I wanted everyone to know at the same time," I replied, blinking. Her eyes widened, and then she let out an incredulous laugh. "Well, I've never seen anyone turn a wedding disaster into something so memorable." The bridesmaids approached, some still stunned. One of them, Samantha, hugged me tightly. "That was iconic," she whispered in my ear. Gradually, the guests began to realize that the show was over, and now the big question remained. What would happen to the party? That's when I grabbed the microphone again and faced the crowd. "Well, since everything's paid for and ready, I don't see why we should waste the party, right?" I lifted a glass of champagne from a nearby table. "Anyone who wants to celebrate this new chapter of my life, you're more than welcome." The guests looked at each other, and for a moment, silence took over the room. Then, someone started clapping. Then another person. And suddenly, the whole room erupted in applause and laughter. "That's it," someone shouted. "The wedding turned into a freedom party," another joked. Samantha grabbed another glass of champagne and raised it in the air, a toast to Harper and her epic revenge. And that's how, on the day that was supposed to be my wedding, I had the best party of my life. What happened next? In the following days, my story went viral on social media. Some guests filmed the moment I exposed the betrayal, and the video spread like wildfire. Thousands of people commented, supporting my actions, praising my courage, and of course relishing in the public humiliation of Logan and Emily. And them? Well, the consequences came quickly. Logan tried to reach out a few times, sending messages, calling. At first he said he wanted to talk, that it was a mistake, that he didn't want to lose me. Then, when he realized I wouldn't give in, he started blaming me. "You humiliated me in front of everyone." Funny, Logan. That's exactly what you planned to do to me, right? As for Emily, oh, she didn't get off easy. I found out that after that day she was rejected by our friend group. People didn't want to be associated with someone so fake and treacherous. Within a month, she moved to another city. And me? I moved on. I focused on myself. I traveled, took care of myself, and reconnected with the people who truly mattered. It took time, but I learned to trust again. And the best part? I learned that my happiness had never depended on a perfect marriage. It had always been within me. I just needed to free myself to see that. And on that day, in front of everyone, that's exactly what I did.